All right, so it's been a while since I've last recorded a video, but today we're tackling Mount Moosilauke, which is an awesome trail in the area of the White Mountains. If you look at this map here, we're looking at a map of the trail. We're starting off here at the Ravine Lodge, which you can see right here, and can go up here on the Gorge Brook Trail, go around, hit East Peak, followed by Mount Moose, which is what everyone calls it because we can't pronounce Mount Moosilauke, I think is how it's pronounced. Then go down the carriage road to South Peak, back in a loop trail to the starting point over here. And we're going up about 2,500 feet, which is pretty exciting, and to a peak at Mount Moose of 4,820 feet, 4,802 feet actually. So crossing the river here, getting going on the hike, and I really couldn't be happier. It's been a really long time since I've been out on the trail. And so we begin the long walk up. It's basically like going up flights of steps. And I guess it's nice to be out, but this is not something I missed. I don't really like the granite and tree root steps of the White Mountains in the summer and spring months. I find the winter to be a lot more fun to hike. You don't overheat with the humidity, and the snow creates basically a ramp that you can go up. So this is not my favorite thing, but I do it because I really like the parts in the alpine zone and the summits of the hikes. Oh, catching my breath. I am not in shape right now. Oh man. Well, it feels good to get out even if I'm not in that great shape. It's been a while, and the reason why is actually I had this kind of gnarly fall, and it was in the winter months. I don't know, maybe like February or March, and I was hiking alone, which is not really a good idea. And I was hiking on a snowy snowpack trail. It was actually Cannon Mountain, and I had done the loop from Cannon Mountain down the Lonesome Lake, which is one of my favorite loops to do. Anyway, I was doing that hike in Franconia, and I was walking across a path, I was wearing crampons. I was testing my microspikes, and I was testing my footing on a lot of those spots. And long story short, I was walking across a stream bed, and I didn't know it at the time because there was so much snow on top of it, but there was frozen water. There was ice underneath a layer of snow, just a powder layer. Normally in the White Mountains in the winter, you have something like a foot or more of snowpack on the trail, but in this particular case, I guess it was late in the season, there wasn't much snowpack, and so I ended up stepping on the surface, and I even tested it because I've been through this before, and I tested the surface and I thought I had a pretty good grip. Well, I didn't, and I ended up having my feet fall out from under me. I grabbed for a branch. I held onto the branch for a second to kind of slow my fall and give me a little bit of control over the descent, but ultimately the branch gave way and I fell. And I didn't know what I was falling into. Fortunately, I fell about 10 feet, maybe even more, maybe 12 feet down off of this ledge where there was water crossing the path, a little river. And I fell 15 feet down and I landed. Now, fortunately, there was a lot of snow down below me, maybe 3 feet, I'd estimate, because I fell straight into the snow, and it was almost like a blanket of snow catching me, which was a great relief because I fell on my leg. And I thought about it for a moment after I fell, how severe a situation that could have been if I hadn't fallen in lightly packed snow. Because if I had fallen without anyone else around me, I saw maybe 2 people the entire day, I would have laid there in agony and in pain, probably without cell phone service, trying to flag someone down. Very treacherous and dangerous experience. So you really should hike with a partner if you can, particularly in the winter, and that was a lesson I learned. But it left me a little bit shook up, I suppose. And I was nervous, I think, about getting back on the trail. Now I'm hiking alone, I'm seeing a couple people on the trail. It's summer, there isn't much risk, and it's okay. But you know, the White Mountains, they're kind of a rough place, and every year people die in the summer and winter and all seasons. In fact, it was a really sad story recently. This guy fell and ended up dying on the mountain. I think he was injured and ended up getting too cold, and the rescue mission couldn't come in soon enough. And it was actually in the early part of the summer when you'd think it would be warm, but a hailstorm struck on Mount Washington. So there's definitely reason to be concerned and to take caution in these types of experiences. And it was a lesson I took to heart, and I think that's one of the reasons why I ended up waiting a number of months before getting back on the trail. There's another reason that I'll get to in a couple minutes, but I'm still kind of mulling over that issue and as I process it. So I'm going to keep hiking and see how my brain clears up. You know, I heard on Science Friday, which is an NPR show with Ira Flato, great show if you haven't checked it out. But anyway, my wife actually introduced me to it. I heard on there a story about some research that have been conducted into mosquito bites. And apparently there's a type of mosquito, or more specifically a disease that's mosquito-borne, that when you're infected with that disease, it activates, I think, your hormones such that other mosquitoes now smell you more. You're actually, in a sense, primed for mosquito bites by a mosquito bite, which is an amazing evolutionary trait in the disease development. But I kind of wonder if maybe I was bitten by one of those mosquitoes that had that disease, because they're just swarming me. And for the last couple months, I just feel like, I don't know, like they just find me in a way that they didn't find me before. And maybe it's just because I heard that story and I'm kind of fixated on that idea now. I don't really know. But I just feel like if I'm out in the open, I'm getting swarmed by mosquitoes now in a way that I never felt before. And even here in broad daylight, in the middle of the day, hiking in the White Mountains, I'm still getting mosquitoes swarming me. Fortunately, I haven't been bitten yet, but it's kind of annoying, that buzzing that you hear in your ears as you're trying to just be at one with nature. But I suppose mosquitoes are part of nature, so maybe I'm even more present in the natural environment because of this mosquito-borne disease that I may or may not have. Well, as I'm kind of huffing it up this hill, it's actually kind of nice. I've gotten my sea legs, as it were, my hiking legs under me, and I feel pretty good. But I wanted to talk about the other reason, which I've been kind of mulling over in my head, and I was thinking about a lot as I was driving up. And the other reason for why I haven't been hiking over the past couple months, and I think it's because I was nervous about taking time off to hike and to go hike. And it's not just about taking time off from work. It also means, for me, work doesn't really stop on the weekends because I'm raising a kid. He's almost 3 and it's a full-time job in itself. So, you know, for me, it's on the weekends, do I go away and do a hiking day for myself? Do I do something like that? And I think what I was realizing is that I have been in a different phase over the past 6 months. I'm doing a PhD. I've mentioned it before on this channel. And I'm a 37-year-old PhD student. So I worked for a decade before I started the PhD program. And there's sort of 2 phases to a PhD. There's the first phase, which is just classes. So I did 2 years of classes. And this phase was hard, but it's easy in a sense because it's explicit. You have coursework, you do your coursework. You have exams, you do your exams. You have problem sets, you do your problem sets. You have the summer, it's a time when you don't do that, and instead you do research. It's very regimented and explicit, and they're clear milestones, and if you do those tasks, you can feel good about yourself. You got an A in the class, good for you. You got your problem set done, good for you. You got it done early, good for you. You can take a couple hours on an afternoon, like Friday afternoon, go for a hike. You have that immediate, constant deliverable, and or at least a set of deliverables, and you know exactly what you need to do to be successful, and you know what success looks like, and you give yourself a pat on the back, and you can feel good about doing whatever you want if you're successful. The second phase of the PhD is the dissertation. So I passed my qualifying exams in January. I've been working on my dissertation for the last 6 months, and it's totally different. You don't know if you're being successful. You don't know if you're getting as much done as you could. You always could do more, at least this is what you tell yourself in your head. It's very amorphous or undefined, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in terms of deliverables. And by the way, I don't think this is just a PhD thing. I've, as I mentioned, I worked for about a decade. I've had a number of jobs, and some jobs are very explicit in terms of what you have to do to be successful. Some jobs are very kind of uncertain and undefined, and you don't know what success really is. And so my point with all of this is, in that second phase of kind of undefined nature, I have been reluctant to go and do things and feel like it's okay. To feel like it's okay for me to take a Saturday and go for a hike, or feel like it's okay for me to take a Thursday afternoon and go for a hike or go take pictures or whatever, because I feel like I should do more. I feel like I ought to do more. These words should and ought are very present in the way that I've been thinking about this stuff. And what I realized on the drive up here, and what I've realized on this hike as I've been kind of clearing my head, is that's nonsense, right? Like, that's a total social construct, or it's even my perception in my own head of what society thinks and what I ought to be doing. It's nonsense. The second thing is that it's not even true that I'm being productive when I'm sitting at my computer. I've been just banging away 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, just sitting there on my computer trying to be productive. And it's not always productive, because your brain's tired, you get exhausted, you get overwhelmed, you get stuck in a rut, like an analytical rut in my case, where I'm just modeling and I'm having a really hard time getting around a certain modeling problem. It's the space, it's the physical space, like this in the environment, but it's also the time space that you give yourself that gives some clarity to the mission and what you're trying to achieve. And I've been lacking that because I've been so obsessed with the idea of being productive and doing work and doing more and doing it right and worried about what people think and all this stuff. Anyway, it's been hard in this next second phase after passing the qualifying exams to be productive and to feel good about what I'm doing. And I think, I'm not sure which way to go here, but I think that's been the second thing that's been holding me back. This is going to be very loud, I think, because of the waterfall. Hopefully not. But it's been the second thing that's been holding me back. Not just a fear of getting injured because of that fall I took and kind of a reluctance, but also just a general feeling like I shouldn't be going hiking and doing these things. And as I'm up here alone in nature, feeling rejuvenated, feeling ready to be productive tomorrow when I sit down my computer, I am realizing the fallacy in that thinking and how counterproductive it is. Really, it's not even just not right. It's actually a bad way to be productive if that's the goal. And that's been the thing I've been kind of realizing today. So I don't know, God bless nature, right? For giving us perspective and for helping to reset our brains and just kind of helping us cope and get through life, the hard parts, and enjoy the good parts. And that's, I think, the feeling I'm feeling on this hike, as the endorphins are flowing and I exert myself in nature. And I do actually hope that that's helpful to people to share. Maybe others who are doing PhDs, maybe others who are in jobs where there are undefined goals and where you feel guilty. Whatever. I just hope that, sharing these types of experiences is useful. So anyway, that's been what I've been processing for the last, say, 4 or 5 hours as I've been driving and hiking. And I don't know, growing, I guess, and getting wisdom from adventure. All right, well, I think we're arriving at the first viewpoint. I saw it on the AllTrails map, and yeah, this is it. Looks pretty good, but yeah, I mean, it's a little cloudy. You can see here it's pretty overcast, but I think this is a good spot to take a shot. And so I'm going to set up, just like very briefly, set up my my camera and just do a quick shot here. It shouldn't be anything too epic, but yeah, we'll take this shot. I think we're in the final stretch here because I've been bumping into the sides a lot. It's getting more narrow, and that's typically, as you approach the alpine zone, I feel like it gets a little bit more narrow. The rocks and everything are pretty well placed together. It's almost like a Roman road or something like that. And yeah, it's quite nice actually. There's a nice breeze and it's less steep at this point. And you can just kind of feel the vibes of getting closer to the summit, or at least the alpine zone, as the pine thins out a little bit and there's a little bit more of a clearing. So on we go, getting closer and closer to the top with a little viewpoint here. Not much, but we'll get to the top soon. Well, I just found out some pretty crappy news. So apparently there's a surprise extreme weather warning, and it's at risk. This zone of eastern New Hampshire and western Maine is at risk with severe thunderstorms capable of hail and really intense weather. And I'm not that surprised because there's been kind of this breeze coming in. It's just sort of felt like a thunderstorm. I did check the weather report before I left. It looked fine. It looked like the thunderstorms were potential, but late in the evening. But fortunately, this is an example where carrying a phone and failing to disconnect from the digital world and constantly checking my phone is probably a good thing, because I did catch this alert. And this is not something to mess with in the White Mountains. The weather changes very quickly and it can be really, really severe. I always travel with backup layers, so I've got an additional warm layer as well as a rain jacket and rain pants, so I'm like fully waterproof from head to toe. However, thunderstorms are not something I personally am willing to do when it comes to being on a ridge. The original path that I had chosen was a wonderful loop trail that had Mount Moose and then continues on to a place called South Peak with a ridge connecting the two. And that ridge, unfortunately, is a very exposed ridge, and it goes on for a couple miles. So where I am right now, I'm about half a mile from the summit of Moose, another maybe mile of exposed above the tree line territory after the peak to go on the South Peak. And frankly, that's a good hour, maybe more of me kind of being exposed, I think. And I'm not willing to chance it because the thunderstorms are expected to come in about an hour and a half. So unfortunately, I have a choice. I can either go to Mount Moose and try to get back, but as you can see, you know, I'm pretty exposed right now. I'm almost the tallest thing even at this level. These pine trees are not very tall. So unfortunately, I think what I'm going to do is hang out here, take a couple photos, try to find a clearing where I can at least see what the summit might have looked like. And then I'm going to unfortunately turn around and not summit Mount Moose today, just because it's just not worth it. The weather changes too quickly here, and with a severe thunderstorm warning in the forecast for this afternoon, even if it's not scheduled to come, in the next hour. There's no reason why it won't. And I'm not willing to take that risk. So sadly, this means I'm going to turn around, not make the summit today, but I feel like it was a pretty productive day. Obviously, it was good for my soul, and I feel like this is the right decision. So I'm going to turn around. If it was just rain, I wouldn't worry about it, but thunderstorms, that's too intense with lightning. So anyway, I'm going to turn around here and head on back down, and that's okay. That's how it goes. And it's a pretty good view from here. I mean, I'm not complaining. You can see I'm going to take a couple shots here on the camera, but it's a pretty nice view. You can see those storm clouds. I'm not even sure if that's the storm or if it's coming from the other side of the mountain. But as it goes right now, I still have a little bit of a ways up this type of terrain before I would even get close to the summit. And I don't know. It's just not worth it. I know I've said that like 7 times. I think I'm trying to get my own head around the fact that I'm not going to summit today, and that's okay. And I'm just going to head on back down. So that's how Cookie crumbles. Good day otherwise, and this is as high as I'm going to get. Let's check to see how high I got. I'm going to look at all trails. I think it's around 4,000 feet, maybe a little bit higher. My current... Yeah, so my current elevation is actually 4,600 feet. So I'm about 250 feet from the summit. So I'm so close, but it's okay. I think this is the right call. Otherwise, I'll linger and I'll do something stupid. So anyway, I'm gonna head back down and take a couple shots and then get going. Okay, so it is raining. Little coda here. It is raining, so I don't feel terrible about not going up to the summit, because if it's raining down here, who knows what it's doing up at the summit. So this was the right decision. I feel vindicated with being cautious, and I got my rain gear just in case, so I'll be fine. But I just wanted to mention it. I'm not crazy. I'm not overly cautious. It is raining, and that's okay. So anyway, take care.